thought it had the most interesting idea behind it of all the three we've seen. I think the kind of whodunit, killing each Avenger was a very cool concept, a very good idea. Kind of having Fury as the detective trying to sort it all out, I was down for all of that. But last week, Gift, you raved on about stakes. Now, the stakes here were obviously really, really high in a sense. But I didn't feel much emotional stake in it. I didn't feel for Fury that once it all went to hell that he was disappointed as much as he just went, oh, well, I'll have to go to Captain America. Oh, here's Captain Marvel. And it asks lots of questions then about why in our previous timeline, Fury just did go straight to Captain Marvel from the get-go.
Right.
Maybe the answer, but I wanted Fury to feel something. The reason I wanted him to feel something is because I wanted him to feel personally invested in the idea, right? So the idea, it starts off, his speech starts off, there was an idea, which is now a very famous speech about the formation of the Avengers. I wanted to know why he loves this idea so much. What does it mean to him, right? Some personal stake in the game so that when the idea falls apart in this episode, we really feel for him. We really feel that he's something in his world has failed, his ideology, his belief, as opposed to, damn it, my plan just didn't work. You know what I mean by that? It just felt like at the end, oh, my plan didn't work. Oh, he's Captain Marvel. As opposed to, and to give you an example of what I'm talking about there, now, Fury's backstory, which still seems very vague, and I'm still pretty angry at Captain Marvel. They had the chance to open this up, but didn't. But my understanding is in the comics, he was a general, or he led his platoon in Vietnam or something, and he had a really, really good record. He was a great leader of his platoon, etc., etc., etc. So if that kind of thing had kind of come into this story, or even into Captain Marvel, then we would have known why he loves this idea so much. But when it doesn't come together in this episode, I just thought at the end, particularly when Captain Marvel turned up, I went, oh, well.
Yeah.
Plan B. That's right. My thoughts. I've dived in the deep end with that. But as you see, I've been giving this a bit of thought.
I love it. JP?
I liked it, like with most things, people may have like criticisms about it. Yeah, I agree with Jace. Like, it's like he wasn't mourning, like losing his initial candidates. Like he wasn't, we see it a bit, but maybe because we're limited with the time of the show, that's why we couldn't see him like going damn it or like mourning it so much. But I think it was an interesting take. It was a very interesting what if, because you have very important characters all of a sudden just frigging dead, right? And finally Loki gets his purpose, destiny.
It's his win.
His win. Yeah. Finally, he always goes on about it's his destiny. So it was kind of fun to see him, finally getting his glorious purpose.
Yeah. No, I agree. For me, I did like it. Like you said, I like my stakes in the game. I like there being losses, but I think that the interesting one, while I agree with you that Fury didn't show as much of the emotion as I would like, I did like seeing more from Black Widow and even more depth that came out from her, because again, we've seen her after the movie Black Widow, and we get our context there, and we see her after the even in Infinity War, whenever her and Hawkeye are battling before she took the plunge. So we've gotten in little tidbits of emotion from Black Widow, but I think that this was really nice to be able to see her investment that had been in everything up until the end. With the show in general, I like at first it threw me off because I got a little confused because like I hadn't remembered Iron Man 2 completely, even though I watched it maybe a few months ago. But I remembered obviously the scene and everything like that, and I didn't remember the juking. But whenever he died, I thought this was going to be basically about how he was unable to find that element, and it was just going to be surrounded around Iron Man and what happens if Iron Man never found the element that ended up helping to unpoison him, and what that ripple effect was going to end up being. And then it was going to be, I actually honestly thought that we were going to end up getting a Thor focused show, a Thor focused episode. So whenever we started knocking it down, it was just like, oh, okay, all right. So we're taking out all we're going to take out all the Avengers potentials. But then, it wasn't very, I guess, subtle once they kind of gave you like the clear indicator of who was going to be the villain, the cause of all of it. Yeah. And in some retrospect, I get it, but I feel like that twist was the part that made the least amount of sense, because while we understand in Ant-Man the situation with Jane Dyne and everything like that, with his Jane Van Dyne and her getting shrunk into the quantum realm, and Hank Pym thinking that she was dead. Also, spoilers, people, because got to deal. Yeah. Anyways, but it didn't make sense because there wasn't anything that led up to it. It didn't make sense as to why we suddenly have Hope Van Dyne dying, or in whatever battle we didn't like. There's not an indicator even from the movie Ant-Man and the Wasp that lead us to have the conceptualization for her to be working with SHIELD, or that this had nothing to do with Hydra. Like, I didn't feel like they gave us a great lead up. It was just like, what happens? We kill all the Avengers, and then Hank Pym is just angry. Like, like I didn't like the setup that they did for it, because it was very weak in all intents and purposes.
It's
say what?
Nothing.
No, yeah. It felt like it was missing the bridging component. And then and though it was kind of cool to see the different ways that people died, but even under the Thor concept, I got super confused, because I was like, wait, I know Thor lost his powers in terms of his ability to conjure thunder and lightning whenever he got thrown down into Midgard, but he never lost his mortality, his immortality. Like, he's can take a lot of it. His skin is not like human. Like, didn't make. So whenever that one happened, I got really confused overall, because I was like, this doesn't even make sense how Thor would die in this way. It wasn't like an Asgardian weapon that went through. And then and then at the end, I didn't know that I could go back to hating Captain Marvel again. But man, the ending, I was like, wow, you guys have done an incredible job. I truly hate this character again. I don't like Captain Marvel. There's no
why do you say that?
Just her coming in. Oh, where's the battle? I don't know why. I don't know why they cannot show confidence well with Marvel. Like, I've seen confidence with Black Widow. I've seen confidence with Thor's sister, the Queen of Death. What's her name? Hela. Yeah. I've seen confidence in other female characters, but for some reason, even with what's her name? Who becomes now Spectre from WandaVision. Like, I saw confidence with her, but for some reason, with this Captain Marvel, with this Carol Danvers, her confidence always just feels like forced dickish, like it just forced arrogance. It's not even like it's not impressive. It's not something that you go like, oh snap. You're just kind of like, yeah, okay, you're here. I guess. Like just the way they opened her in, and it might not be it's not the actor. I can clearly say it's not the actor. It is the people who keep writing for her and putting her in stuff. They make her just so unlikable to look at.
Well, it's not Brie Larson. She didn't voice this one. Not that.
Sorry, even ask. That's why I go. It's not the actress itself, as people try to do with. I mean, with the movie itself. It's just like the writing and how they present Captain Marvel, and Brie Larson just takes the brunt of it.
A quick question to go back. You've sparked something in my mind. Probably the first time ever.
Everybody gets one.
Everyone gets one. Go back to the Thor thing, right? They get him while he's pulling up his hammer.
Right.
At that stage, they don't know who he is, do they?
No.
So how does Hank Pym know that he's going to be part of the Avengers? How does Hank Pym put himself in the position to be there to get him killed? Because no one knows who he is at that point in time, right? No one knows who he is or what he's about. He's just this guy with beautiful hair who smells good when he's dead.
Right.
We don't even know that yet, right? So Hank Pym somehow figures out he's going to get asked to join the Avengers. You know what I mean?
Right. I think that's where the issue on this episode came in. Like you had the premise well, you had the stakes well, but your follow through was lacking. Hank I think it made it worse because there was no initial investment. Like if this had happened like right before maybe like the events of the Avengers had occurred, like whenever everybody was already established.
Yeah.
Then it would have been said because we had a connection. It would have made sense. Oh, I'm going to take out the thing that you love. But it happened as everybody was coming through. Like Bruce Banner, I guess we get to an extent on the gamma rays-ish. And then, obviously Tony Stark. But the Thor one really, I felt like they needed to have a reason to bring Loki in. But nothing about how Thor reacted made sense to... Nothing about the Thor situation made sense to anybody. Like Hank Pym can't know that much about Asgard, Midgard. Like the Tesseract is in existence, but they haven't used it at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a huge one. I never thought about it until you brought it up before, but that whole Thor thing is it's hugely problematic. It's to me they had to do one of two things with these series, and I'm beginning to think this now for all the episodes we're seeing. They either have to make them longer,
right,
or they have to cut down on the action sequences and give a little bit more time for characters to breathe.
Right.
That's becoming my gut feeling as I'm watching these. I prefer them to do the first one. I prefer them to go an extra 10 minutes and really iron out, some of these things we're bringing up with each episode,
Right. Like give the character. It just feels like they're trying to speed race towards whatever's going to happen by the time episode 9 comes along.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, guys, here's a character. Here's stuff around that character, but this is the character that's going to be from this multiverse. Here's the character. Here's some stuff around it. It can be whatever. It's very unimportant, but here's this character. So so far it feels like, okay, well, we're going to get Captain Carter, obviously, and we're going to get T'Challa Star-Lord. Okay. Now we're going to get Nick Fury with the death of his Avengers. that universe. And whoever it is, we're gonna get probably another Thor, and clearly we're gonna get a Gamora who's somewhat Thanos'd up a little bit because we've seen it in the commercials. And we're gonna get this multiverse Avengers kind of thing happening.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe.
Die. Oh, die.